Hi there. Welcome to the Friday Night Armistice in the week that the primary school league tables came out. So at least we know which pupils are best at making a collage out of leaves. And it was the week that Bill Clinton was faced with more damning video evidence of his obvious sexual encounters, such as this footage, clearly showing him having an 18-year romance with Boris Yeltsin. Look at that. That's the look of love in the dead Russian's eyes. And it was obvious, too, in the body language in this footage that there's someone in Tony Blair's cabinet with a bit of an infatuation for Clinton. Let's see what they're all looking at. There you go. Oh, yes. In case you're wondering, that person was sacked after the incident and moved to Robin Cook's office. Meanwhile, Richard Branson, still trying to launch an expedition to get a Virgin train from London to Glasgow without stopping, this week revealed his new method, which was to transport the train up the British coast on this ship, the Virgin Titanic. It set off from Euston Docks this morning, but got delayed outside Carlisle by frozen points caused by the wrong kind of iceberg. And finally, Tony Blair announced that after all the presentation disasters of the past few months, he's going to relaunch his government by switching the power off and back on again to see if anything happens. He's also desperately scurrying around the country with a new video showing why he thinks Britain is the greatest country ever to walk the surface of this planet. He's probably lost it a bit, actually, as you can see for yourselves in tonight's first television airing of Tony Blair's Vision of Britain.
Today I place before you my vision of a new Britain. Prosperous, secure, united, a nation transformed by colour TV, Coronation Street and the Beatles. A moral purpose to life. A set of values. Life more entertaining, public services improved. Class size of one at a proper wooden desk. The self-employed architect who wants to do his own accountancy. Crack down on those single parents who make life hell in their local neighbourhoods through noise or disturbance. We will change the old and dead. Every 5, 6 and 7-year-old will be phased out. New Britain. Is this not a vision? And one more thing. An oil rig out in the Gulf of Mexico has metal fatigue.
Now, Bill Clinton's been in the news this week, I don't know if you noticed, but I think the most interesting thing about the whole affair has been Clinton's attitude to infidelity, because apparently 4 years ago he told a state trooper that he wasn't doing anything wrong because he'd found out in the Bible that oral sex wasn't adultery in the Bible. So what I did, I spent most of the week reading the Bible. Crazy. And finally, I did find it. It's in Genesis, if you're interested, and here it is. I'll read it out to you. And the angel of death did smite the Gomorrans, for they had sinned, and the angel smote the people of Sodom, for they had sinned. And there was a third city called Gobjob. And the angel did not smite Gobjob, for the Gobjobbans were only having harmless fun, and it was not technically an affair.
In the Oval Office, there's a big tank of women. Because they're all swimming around, he goes, I'll have that one. No, the strange thing about it all is that Clinton's approval rating is still really high in America. It's about 50%. But then he has had sex with 50% of the Americans.
Before we go any further, I'd just like to get something out of the way, out of our systems, and that's all these rude Bill Clinton oral sex puns that have flooded the world. See, there's one already. Yeah. Now, we're going to have, just to get them out of the way, a little Bill Clinton pun amnesty. Just spit them out. There goes another one. Yeah. And then we can get on with the show, right? Okay. Get all the oral sex puns out of the way. Dave's got a stopwatch. I'm ready.
Got a minute.
OK, you've got a minute, Pete. 3, 2, 1, go!
Monica-gate, Zipper-gate, Jailbait-gate, Trouser-gate, Bill-gate, Porked-her-gate, Fauna-gate, shouldn't oughta-gate, young enough to be your daughter-gate, white water on her dress-gate, oral office, oval orifice, gland of the free, in gob we trust, governor of hard-on-saw, governor of pork and sword, a bitter bill to swallow, President Jaws Bush, swallow the leader, United Stains, First Lady, yes, I tried her but I didn't impale, Hillary Bill in the top, the mouth ran up the cock, The cock sucked done, the mouth ran down, and Monica's sick in a sock. Stain of their union on her dress. Muffalo Bill, Lust William, William the Bonkerer, William the Borelinge, William Burroughs, William the Burst. The suck stops here. Monica throws up more evidence. Star-Spangled Banger, the Unibanger, Zippity-Hoo-Ha, Sticky Pat for President. Monica lies under oath. Monica goes down in history. Head of state, President parting her. Come on, spunk, make my day. Scoffing at the rumours. Scandal explodes in Monica's face. Chief of staff, tongues wag in Washington. Pubic inquiry, evidence comes out in the wash.
Actually, at this point, could I just say, because of sensitivity about the Queen Mother, tonight is also going to be a hip-free zone. A bit like the Queen Mother's stomach. Carry on.
She won't die, will she?
No.
She will not die. Do you know in the hospital where she is now, the doctors, just for a laugh, cut her in half. And both ends just crawled away. It's like the skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts. You can't kill her.
Kill one, two grow in its place.
The six-headed Queen Mother.
Nice. Bill Clinton be interested in that.
Put it in the millennium.
That's not going to go out, is it, really? Now the Americans, they are very good at scandals. If they have a scandal, it's got the president, it's got sex, everything. What have we got over here? The biggest scandal of recent weeks has been Martin Bell's legal expenses, which were paid for by Labour and the Lib Dems. Whoa.
So Martin Bell invited a young woman into his room and went, "Do you want to see my expenses?"
One thing this scandal has shown is that Americans are different from us. And it's not just that they accept as normal that woman's English accent on Frasier. No, the difference is actually anatomical. I'll show you what I mean. Over here is a big, fat, dead American that we poisoned in the queue outside Madame Tussauds. This is his wife. Ma'am, thanks very much. Now, if we open him up here and... we've got all the normal organs. There's a triple-decker liver. Every American has one of these. But if you do look inside, it's clear that evolution has adapted these people for scandal, so that the aorta here is connected to a tape recorder. There are microphones, there's reels of blank tape. In fact, 80% of every American's body is made up of surveillance fluid.
Well, we've decided that the Clinton scandal is so important, we've sent someone to Washington to cover it for us. We're the only programme on the telly that's done this, even American telly. But we felt we had to be there for this historic week in the life of Free Earth. So we're now going over live to Michael Basser, who's outside the White House in Washington, D.C., with our very own tribute to the president. Michael, hello.
Hello, Armando. I'm here at the White House, and I've got a card from you saying, "Sorry you're leaving," from everyone in the Armistice office. And it's attached to your beautiful floral tribute in the shape of a dick, which I'm going to give to a White House official.
Marvellous.
Let me ask you something. Is there any way to get this to President Clinton? Put it on the front stairs or anything like that? Thank you.
We'll put it in the east wing of the White House, or the west wing, depending which way his penis is bending this week.
But I wonder if we're getting this Bill Clinton story out of proportion over here. Is it really what the man in the street is obsessed with? Well, we asked some people over there what was the main talking point this week. Here's what they said.
Martin Bell, his expenses, that's all he got in this country.
Martin Bell, we Americans are so shocked by how naive he is.
I think Martin Bell should go. It's just that he's portrayed tad nuts.
Bell is a no-good creep. Let the liberal Democrats walk all over his stupid ass.
No, he can run and help. Right, time to have a quick look at a William Hague fameometer, which gives an accurate reading of how famous Hague is this week. And there's no change. Hague is slightly more famous than actor Corin Redgrave and less famous than everyone in the Conservative Party. But one development we've noticed is that behind Hague, the fameometer has started to pick up signs of this man gradually emerging, with predictions that there should be a total eclipse in 94 days.
William Hague is, of course, the only person to have one of those Where Are They Now features written about him whilst leader of the Conservative Party. But it's not just him, it's the whole of the Tory front bench. What's happened to them all? Who are they? Where are they? We've tried for 6 months to get a reply to this question from Stephen Durrell, the MP for Bermuda Triangle East.
Well, I've got with me these two people who, as you can see, are Michael Howard's parents. Now, when did you last hear from Michael?
It was on the morning of May the 2nd.
If he doesn't want to call us, if he just gets onto Radio 4 or Newsnight.
Or Channel 4 News. If he doesn't want people to know where he is.
Oh, please, Michael, we do love you.
It's worse than that, because this is Michael's friend, Peter Lilly. Doesn't know what he's doing.
Now, they, of course, are the big hitters, but who the hell are the rest of the Shadow Cabinet? This bunch of people so invisible that even the Hubble telescope can't find them. This is a picture of the Tories who actually survived the last election. They're a kind of mutant strain that can't be destroyed. Let's take a closer look at some of these ugly men with our big magnifying glass. Let's have a look at him first. Here's the big magnifying glass. There you go. This is Norman Fowler, who quit politics in the late 80s to spend more time with his family. He's now Shadow Environment Secretary, so he gets to spend even more time with his family. His job is to oppose Tony Blair's one policy on the environment, which is to cut it all down and turn it into a new kitchen.
Now, of course, the Tories want to attract younger voters. They're keen to modernise, so to really bring their image right up to date, they've brought in Cecil Parkinson. Now, up until recently, Cecil's only policy on young people had been to make them with his secretary. But he hasn't been idle. He's behind the new Tory plan to get kids familiar with the latest technology by putting a Betamax in every school.
Right then, this chap. Anyone know who he is? Anyone?
Anyone?
Right, we'll give you £10 if you can tell me who he is. Michael Ancram from somewhere over there. And what does he do?
How did you know that?
I work in the Northern Ireland office.
What do you do for a living?
In Northern Ireland.
All right, there's 10 quid. Is yours. Well done.
Michael Ancram is the Shadow Cabinet devolution spokesman. The Tories don't actually have any MPs in Scotland and Wales, but Ancram was chosen because he can do accents. Although his Welsh does get a bit Pakistani. But there is hope for the Tories, because last month in Scotland, someone did take this picture of the Loch Ness Tory, which they claim is Malcolm Rifkin surfacing for air. But experts say it's a clever hoax and it's actually a monster.
OK, we've only lost a tenner so far, so we're going to offer you £150 if you can tell me who this is. Anyone? Come on. Oh, what a shame. It's Francis Maud, of course. Yes, that's right. He's the Shadow Culture, Media and Sports spokesman. He's Chris Smith's opposite number, so he's the man responsible for opposing the Millennium Dome. What a fine job he's doing.
£1,000.
Really?
£1,000. Very important man in the Shadow Cabinet.
Come on, if things had gone slightly, massively different on May the 1st, these people would be running the country. Aren't they?
Andrew Mackay.
No.
Oh. Shadow Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. Obviously, there's nothing much going on over there at the moment, so he's taken a year off and gone into railing.
OK, now the big one. We're feeling confident, so please, bring in the van of money. There's a glint in the audience's eye. OK, ladies and gentlemen, now, this van contains £30,000. We've got to write it off anyway as expenses before January the 31st. We want to piss it away, OK? We will give it to anyone in our audience who can tell us who this man is and what his position is in the Shadow Cabinet. £30,000. Now, let me just say the competition is not open to members of the Shadow Cabinet or their families. Sod it, it is anyone. This man. £30,000 have gone. This is John Maples. He's Health Secretary. Shadow Health Secretary. That's quite important.
Well, the conclusion of all this is, John Maples, you have to raise your profile. Now, we on the Friday Night Armistice have come up with a surefire way of doing that for you, because we've sent out to the editor of every newspaper in this country the following tape recorded in America.
Yeah, John Maples has a strangely shaped ass. It looks like a bagel.
John Maples exposed his breasts to me at an airport.
John Maples invited me into his room. and asked me to lick his maple syrup.
I'm in the fair with John Maples for 30 years.
But what about all the others? What about the rank-and-file Tory MPs who don't even get to be in this stupid picture? Well, apparently these ordinary, anonymous men have been sent away to learn how to win over those sections of the public who would not traditionally vote Tory, such as the British and British minorities. Now, for this reason, all new Tory candidates undergo a course of aversion therapy in booths similar to this one here, where it's hoped they'll learn to overcome their worst fears by being exposed to those objects of their terror, such as a single mother. Now, he's quite calm there. Single mother goes in. The Tory MP doesn't really like it, but he's staying quite calm. Next comes in somebody from an ethnic minority. Oh, he's a bit unsettled. Not very happy with that. An environmentalist comes in. In comes the environmentalist. Oh, no, he doesn't like the dreadlocks. A gay person. How will he cope with a gay person? Oh, my God. He's horrified. Time to send in the Scottish person. In comes the Scot. He's trying to find some type of escape here. All right, he's going to try and cope with a disabled person now. He doesn't like that, but he's just about staying calm, but he doesn't like the fact that the disabled person is being pushed by a Frenchman. He's lost it.
OK, on to Labour now, and among Labour's many health pledges is a promise to get 100,000 people off the NHS waiting list within the lifetime of this Parliament, or in the time it took the Queen to visit her mother in hospital, depending which is longer. So, this week, the Friday Night Armistice looks at exactly how these 100,000 patients will be reduced to nothing.
10,000 people will be taken off the list instantly by being told to pull themselves together. Another 10,000 will be caught early, with cheap package operations that reduce the total number of hospital visits required in a lifetime. Children receiving a BCG jab at the age of 9 will thus be given a hip operation at the same time. 20,000 people will be removed when heart disease is renamed yuppie stitch, and the medical profession refuses to believe there's anything wrong with them. Meanwhile, children who like playing doctors and nurses will be required to perform 15,000 real operations.
Does it hurt when you pass water?
An additional 5,000 patients will be sent to BBC One's own Casualty. Replacing out-of-work actors with real patients will not only ease the pressure on the NHS, but is expected to boost the ratings of this flagging series. 5,000 patients will be encouraged to stay at home and allow TV doctors to talk them through major surgical operations. Vivian's removing her foot.
So we'll keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
This leaves 25,000 patients still on the waiting list. They'll be constantly entertained, since time passes quickly when you're enjoying yourself. The government calculates that 20,000 people will be fooled this way, leaving 5,000 still on the list. Of these, 1,500 will have their health care cut as an incentive to put the sick back to work. The final 3,500 patients will be appointed to a task force to look into ways of cutting down the waiting lists. As a reward, they'll be given life peerages and become members of the House of Lords, like this committee looking into shingles.
Right, now, of course, the deadline for getting this form is upon ye. It's the new self-assessment tax return form, which has to be in by the 31st of January, or you'll get fined £100. Oh, yes. Now, to date, 1.3 million people haven't done this yet. Now, that's a hell of a lot of money for the taxman, who is bloody delighted. I'll tell you why, because it's his fault. Because if you look at the form, he doesn't want you to get it in on time, and so he slipped in little subliminal phrases in very small print. For example, on page 1, it's got 31st of January 1998. If you want to calculate your tax, blah, 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 heavy going, isn't it? Why don't you just leave it and have a nice cup of tea? I'll wait. And then we go a little bit further on the form, and under if you need help, you've got refer to your tax return guide, or put this form on a mantelpiece behind a big clock. It'll probably go away.
If you don't get your form in and you don't pay your £100 fine, then you'll get sent to self-assessment prison, where you work out your own sentence and then let yourself out when you feel you've done your time. But there should be no reason for us to miss the deadline because there's been a massive advertising campaign featuring this little character, Hector, this self-assessment tax reminder. You've seen them all over the place. But given the amount of money that the Treasury is going to make from its fines, we can look forward next week to this advert appearing showing Hector blowing coke out of his arse on a Greek island. There he goes.
So basically, this self-assessment toss is just the taxman, woman, getting us to do their job. And we thought, oh, good idea. Why don't we get them to do our job? So we faxed tax offices around the country one of these. It's our Armistice joke assessment form, asking them for various topical jokes, Clinton, the Tories, whatever, and telling them if they didn't get them back to us by the end of the week, they would be fined £100. There's a chance for them to prove they've got a sense of humour. Unfortunately, Central Tax Office didn't. They circulated this memo. It's actually Paul Franklin and Linda Grange who circulated the memo, saying it is important that this joke demand is ignored. However, one tiny little taxman, he's faxed us from his home. It says at the bottom, too scared to phone from tax office. On Clinton, he says, a survey carried out among American women aged 30 to 50 asked how many wanted sex with Clinton. 48% replied, not again.
Well, thanks very much to all those people in the Inland Revenue who were good sports and sent stuff in. We've taken your names and reported you to the head revenue office. Because you should have been working.
OK, just time to check Labour's big commitment card over here with their 5 election pledges. Now, of course, this week they've been a bit busy to concentrate on this because they've been fending off accusations of having spent loads of money on big parties for left-wing celebrities. So it's just the one update this week, which is get 250,000 under-25-year-olds off benefit and into work. Slight difference there. Get 250,000 paper plates off Ben Elton and into kitchen.
Labour, as we've seen, have been criticised for spending a fortune on catering and hospitality. Now, this is part of Tony Blair's secret plan to quell opposition by inviting everyone in the country to one of his parties. Now, Blair has even neutralised Margaret Thatcher by having her to Downing Street. He called her in to talk about her 11 years at number 10 and immediately rethought his policy on long-term residential care for the mentally ill. So, Tony Blair's Downing Street parties are just cheap attempts to buy off bad media coverage by flattering the likes of Jonathan Dimbleby with a quiche. Now, we know this because the only reason we keep slagging Blair off is because we're the only ones who haven't been invited. All we need is an invitation from number 10 and we'll stop going on about Tony Blair, this increasingly unpopular, obviously lonely, egomaniac, celeb-licking, slag hag, toothy tart Prime Minister of people's votes. So, in the absence of an invite, our cameras were at the last Downing Street party to see if we could gate crash. There's Michael Brunson there, so Blair's got news at 10 in the bag. Lots of good and finalies. Coronation Street's Vera Duckworth, so there's going to be no plot lines in Coronation Street about anti-Labour bar staff. And even the 2 fat ladies were invited. Now, why is Tony Blair scared they'll come up with a suit about interest rates? So, first of all, we sent Peter in.
What's going on here?
This is Downing Street, sir.
So Downing Street, yeah. There's lots of people. I just thought I saw, like, the 2 fat ladies got in. I mean, they must be a bit desperate, really. So I was in the pot noodle advert, so if you ring Tony Blair...
Well, then I had to go, and I thought I might dress as Chris Evans. Chris Evans.
You're not Chris Evans.
I explained I'd lost my invite and had to turn Virgin Radio upside down. On the plus side, 10 minutes later, when this man turned up, the police turned him away, saying, for the last time, you're not Chris Evans. So clear off.
Now, if the Monica Lewinsky tapes are to be believed, one of President Clinton's favourite activities is to dress up as Saddam Hussein and ask her to inspect his biological weapon. But amidst all the scandal and excuses for cheap knob gags, we mustn't forget that there is still the possibility of war breaking out in the Gulf. Now, the BBC, they obviously know something that the rest of us don't, judging by next week's Radio Times. There's the cover. It says, he's back Saddam Hussein chats to Polly Toynbee about his forthcoming new war, and he promised us some old favourites and some new characters as well.
Especially the BBC are desperate for a war because they've now got a 24-hour news channel to fill up. So to provoke Saddam further, they've sent the BBC balloon into Iraqi airspace. There it is. There it is. Across the Gulf.
Part of the problem is, of course, that Saddam has accused the head of the UN team of being a spy.
Yeah.
And in a way, you can sort of see his point, given that a spy's job is to go to foreign countries and take pictures of their military installations. They are spies, they're just crap ones. Because they tend to ring up the day before and say, oh, we want to do some espionage, how's tomorrow for you? Have you got a window?
But the problem is that they tell Saddam the day, but they don't say what time they're coming. No. So he can't do anything, he just has to stay in all day. And the moment he pops out to do some quick butchering, right, he comes home and he finds this. It's a card from the UN inspector saying, we called to inspect your nuclear biological weapons capability, but unfortunately, you were out. Please let us know when it's convenient to re-enter your country. And then on the back, they've got one of these weapons self-assessment forms. You can see here, Saddam's filled it in. How many chemical weapons do you have? None. Really? Yes.
But, however, Saddam has come up with some really clever ways of hiding his military hardware. See if you can spot the missiles hidden in this street. Just a little clue. Just a clue. Look closely at the street lighting. Finally, guess what starts this week on the BBC? Another fly-on-the-wall documentary. Who bloody Ray? After the runaway cheapness of driving school, hotel, the cruise, animals in uniform and the deep fat fryer, BBC is launching its latest effort, the people whose job it is to think up programmes and can only come up with fly-on-the-wall documentaries.
Oh, let's get our brains together. We're talking about human interest. Again, we're talking cheap.
Right, I know this might sound a bit ironic, but how about a documentary about a fly on the wall? Nature and interior design.
Right. Dying students. They're finding for their degrees, but they're dying.
Directory inquiries. Directories, what name, please? Call it number unobtainable. Gypsies. Good, not the proper ones, the ones that come to your door.
You gypsy bastards.
What about people who shave their pets?
People who can't shit.
Absolutely.
It's fundamental. It's a fundamental aspect.
You can get people at the start of the show who can't shit. And you introduce a hypnotherapist, you can put them under, and then by the end of the show, we can have them shitting.
I mean, get Tim Piggott-Smith to narrate it, and it's going to be prime time. It's going to be big.
No, don't worry. Don't worry if you haven't been made famous by a fly-on-the-wall documentary. There is still hope, because you can become one of the many people now earning a living as a lookalike for an ordinary person made famous by a fly-on-the-wall documentary. We've got two of the best in tonight, so please welcome a lookalike for Maureen from driving school and a lookalike for that woman from hotel. There we are. Marvellous. Marvellous. Do your little thing. That's right. Do your bossing. Do your bossing. There you go. That's nearly nice. Here's your big moment, Peter.
Jesus Christ, Mo! Mo, you're gonna get us killed! Please, slow down!
Yeah, cut it. Right. Right, that's all for this week. We've just got time to see how William Hague's plan to look in touch with the people is getting on. There he is. He's on top of the pops. That's all from us. Good night.